Alright everyone, link in the description, archived of course, to a very, very interesting concept. It's the concept that Joe Biden does not intend to run for re-election against Donald Trump. And he has made a couple of statements recently that point to the fact that he might be hesitant about going forward. I mean, his approval is at under 40 points. He's losing in at least 5 of the 6 major swing states in polling. When you consider Jill Stein, Cornel West, and RFK Jr., he loses by a pretty big goddamn margin. In fact, it's close to a 15-point swing away from the Democrats as opposed to the 2020 election. Donald Trump would win in an unmitigated landslide in such a matchup. I do believe that Donald Trump would win against Joe Biden. Barring the economy magically getting demonstrably better, which is a long-haul process, when you've had the level of inflation and other problems that you've had under an administration that you've seen in the last few years with Joe Biden. Of course, as of the 1st April, when he's so-called commander-in-chief, the economy begins to go into hot mode. You had, I think, 4.7 inflation then, and it's continued since then. For the better part of a year, you had high inflation, then it rose even further, which meant it was even hotter. It's starting to go back down now, but the core inflation, like the actual month-over-month increase, is still there. And wages are not keeping up. Joe Biden can lie all he wants to, but that's not the truth. The concept that's proposed here is that Joe Biden is acutely aware of the fact that everything's fucked up and he can't win. And so he wants to handpick a successor. Now, if he announces tomorrow, I'm not seeking re-election, guys. I'm not interested. I'm an old man. Leave me alone. I want to go have another prune smoothie. Jill will stop harping at me. If I'm no longer president and I don't have to make big decisions or something, I can go fishing or, just spend all day at Rehoboth Beach instead of 3 days a week. Yeah, I think that would be fun. The problem is that if he does that, he can't handpick who succeeds him. This is effectively the concept of a literal Dark Brandon, where Dark Brandon imagines himself as and he does have a big ego. He might be a frail old man now, but the ego doesn't die when you get old. If anything, it becomes more accentuated, which is why Joe Biden still threatens to take people out behind the woodshed and do push-up contests and shit like that, because he's lost it. The idea is that there's some remnant in him that still wants power. He'd like a second term. He knows he can't get it. And so he decides to run, and then at the convention, he decides to stand down. Who has all the delegates? It's Joe Biden. He can command them effectively to go for whoever he wants, which means that he can cock-block anyone he doesn't want to be the nominee and sort of handpick. He can coronate whoever he wants to be his successor. This will presumably be a person who has gotten money from Biden or given Biden money or done some business dealing with him. Will it work? Well, now, first, we should probably address the main question, which is, do I think that this is going to happen? No. I am skeptical of the concept. I think that Joe Biden actually is nuts enough to run. The Democrats are actually nuts enough to let him run, and that's what's going to happen. But there is a measurable chance, at least a small chance, that this really is his strategy. Stay in, gobble up 99% of the delegates, because some of the states have just preemptively awarded them anyway, like Florida. There won't be anyone else on the ballot. So write-in campaign's not going to work. Joe Biden will effectively be nominee. There is a chance, though, that at the convention we have that mic drop moment where Joe Biden says, I quit. Here's your new nominee because I've commanded my delegates to vote for them instead, since they're literally pledged to do what I want them to do. Under the DNC rules, I believe that's effectively the case. Even if a few people decide to straggle aside, he'll be able to heavily influence the proceedings and become the Kingmaker of the Democratic Party. It could be Newsom. It could be Whitmer. Could be he stumps for Kamala. I don't think she'd win against Donald Trump. I don't think that he and his wife even like Kamala Harris. I think she was literally a diversity hire. The positing in the article, though, is funny, and I mean, this is an election in which we've seen a lot of crazy shit. We've seen a former president of the United States indicted on felony charges. This is a first for the United States. We're seeing the untangling of an enormous web of censorship and propaganda via leaks and whistleblowers mainly being revealed. We understand that the legacy media is literally working with the current administration on economic messaging, and I guarantee it goes further. We're seeing a lot of abnormal things in the election, and it all boils down to them trying to stop Trump because they're genuinely afraid of him. If they think, therefore, that Trump would prevail against Biden, they've probably already talked to him and said, look, we don't want a messy primary. We want a very quiet primary. Just do your business, refuse to announce whether you're running or not, but you'll be on the ballot because you're the incumbent anyway. We'll do you a solid. You can handpick one of these neoliberals that you like the best as the Democratic Party nominee, because we're sure that they'll beat Donald. It's possible. I mean, one hell of a conspiracy. And by the way, if that does happen, I guarantee it's already been organized now. It's not just Joe Biden being, particularly intelligent and strategizing this on his own. Other people would have probably been involved. Like, look, Joe, you're fucking gonna be 82 years old, and clearly you got some problems going on upstairs. We like you, Joe. Don't worry. Pat him on the head, give him a donut or something, some ice cream, I guess. Demented people apparently benefit from ice cream for some reason. There's a study about that one time that went viral, right around the time that Joe Biden was so-called elected, by the way. Don't worry. We love you, Joe. We're going to make sure that your legacy is untarnished. You'll get the presidential library and everything. But here's the short list of people you should be considering nominating in your place at the convention. Go ahead and just be ambiguous on whether you're running or not, and everything will be... We'll take care of the rest. It's possible. It's plausible. I'm skeptical of it. I'm not saying that this is their plan. I know a lot of other people think, well, Gavin Newsom out of nowhere. Since there's no effective primary going on and no one else with a major name recognition dares to run because they'll face the wrath of the DNC, nobody else can get in right now. If Newsom were to jump into the race, he'd lose. Even with the Dems' malaise against Joe Biden, I still think Joe Biden would be nominated. This is what the DNC is trying to avoid, is a messy primary. If that is indeed the plan, to have him stand down at the convention and say, well, come on, Fat, I'm too old for this shit. Here's Pete Buttigieg, 2024, youth and vigor. And he's pushing 50, but by congressional standards, at least, definitely on the young side. It's possible. I'll remain skeptical, but I'm going to remain interested in continuing to analyze the things Biden says and sort of the meanderings of the Biden-adjacent legacy media, and we'll be able to get a bead probably on whether this is a plausibility. And it might be up in the air. It might be more like okay, wait and see. And we'll see how Joe Biden's mental health does over the next year. And we're hoping that it holds up. And then at the convention, we'll have made our decision. But I guarantee there are plans in the works to do something like that. It's just we don't know that they've actually been implemented yet. That's about all. Peace out.